Welcome to the Live Fully podcast. I'm your host and co-founder of Etha, Victor Chung, and with me is fellow co-founder Alexander Karp. Morning, Alex.
Good morning.
I don't know why I say Alexander and I go Alex.
Because everyone does. It's kind of one of those things. It's,
yeah. You force it. You're like,
oh,
I am
my name's
Alexander.
Then it's like, hey, Alex. Like,
Yeah. Cool.
Whatever works.
Everyone calls me Vic.
Yeah,
the way it is.
Has to, yeah.
All right.
That's how names are, though. Right? Nicknames are kind of like, you don't get to choose your nickname. People just do it, and you're
T-Bone.
like, yeah, or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
there was never. Anytime you kind of like, yeah, if someone wants to choose it, it's like, nope, I'm not calling you that.
Yeah. It's never a good one. Yeah. At least I've never gotten a good one.
My nicknames used to be off my last name, like sports, right? It's like like team sports drives a lot of nicknames.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, that was always based on like my last name.
Yeah, my nickname for you. I just call you Carpe Diem all the time.
Yeah, it's like Carp or Carpy is always like the nicknames that come up.
Yeah. All right. Today we're gonna talk about drum roll. Ooh, notes. Can we have some notes, please, Nicole? She's in the room as always. Morning, Nicole.
The most common side effects of Kratom or the alkaloids, MITRAGYNINE, the main active one.
Okay. Nice. Another sciencey one.
Yeah. Well, this one we get to talk about some of the pushing the limit too far and what happens, side effects.
Yeah. Took handfuls of tablets. Yeah, we'll talk about all of it. All right, let's get started. Okay, normally we start with industry updates. I don't really think there's much going on. It's the holiday season. I think it's kind of slow for news.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one, so I did attend the AKA Advocacy update last week on Monday.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so like, yeah, I mean, there's
some news then. All right, you take it then.
Yeah, I mean, general, there are kind of the local municipality bans that are being stopped by the AKA because FDA obviously doesn't have the science or the research to ban Kratom like they want to. Mm-hmm. And so they're still going to some of the smaller, like city councils, the smaller government agencies that just don't have necessarily the time or the resources to always go and check the actual researchers. I mean, we know this kind of same story. Mm-hmm. So AKA is able to go in and actually stop those bans and actually put in the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, kind of educate legislators. Yeah. So we're in a good direction on that.
Mm-hmm. Consistent direction too.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been doing this for a number of years.
Very consistent. I mean, hopefully now, I mean, there is now actually a lot of positive potential with kind of the new administration coming in. If RFK is actually, he is being appointed Health and Human Services and actually going to start revamping the agencies. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's some really good potential that the FDA will finally be restructured and actually do what it should be doing for the American consumers of food, supplements, and drugs, and actually have better truth in labeling, actually have the FDA not just try to ban anything that's effective, free, and easy for consumers to get access to, right? No. I mean,
Nicole, can you pull up there's a quote that he put out on social media, RFK did.
Oh, I love that one.
I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, like no longer will the FDA stop exercise.
Yeah, like good nutrition and all these things. It's like,
duh.
The things that we always talk about. Yeah, that's a great quote. Yeah, I have a lot of hope for it too. It's such a great time. I've never felt so good about the future, both from the federal level, but then also from all the activity that we've been doing for a number of years now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we've come a long way. I started thinking about this last week, whereas, we're end of year, we're planning for 2025. And so part of that process, we look at, 2024, what we've done, our accomplishments, our challenges. And you can't help but start thinking about kind of the full journey that we've been through. And it's just wild, the progress we've made from year one to now. We couldn't even sell Kratom at one point. That was a challenge. We couldn't even talk about it. We couldn't even tell people that's for human consumption at one point.
Yep.
It was wild. So we've come so far.
There is some of that backtrack, I want to say, going on in, was it Florida maybe? Where like the Department of Agriculture was trying to take that step back, saying that, because the FDA says it's not approved. Well, you can sell Kratom as long as it's not labeled with human consumption, not labeled the directions for use. It's like, okay, so you want to take a step backwards and not inform people about how to properly and safely use a substance. You want it just to go back to like unused or unknown kind of information.
No
I guess
dosing
it's the dumbest-
recommendations,
It's
none
like
of that stuff.
it's like the cat's already out of the bag. We know like what kratom is. A lot of people do. Like it's a conventional food. Like let's actually educate people on how to use it properly, not
100%.
try to go back to no information.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is like
I
his
need
his
more.
full speech.
I need
This
more.
is a post on social media, probably on
He's
X.
had a lot of quotes, so I'm
Oh, I
really
can
hard.
imagine. I can only imagine. Well, if you find something, we'll read it out and share
I
it.
think I have it like pretty accessible.
Like I'm screenshotting that, reposting that one. All right. While we're looking at all that stuff, I notice a little trinket here.
Yes, this is So I was inducted into the American Kratom Association Advocacy Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
And so the American Kratom Association
So
was
jealous
nice
right now.
to give me this little, I guess it's not a trophy. I guess it's like a award, like a nice little award. Yeah. So yeah, very very nice
Paperweight.
to have that paperweight. Yeah. Show
Trinket.
it off. Take some pictures of it.
The world is in your arms. Yeah. Look, this is nice. Am I gonna break it?
No, you can have to break it.
Okay, here you go. You guys can see it on camera. Now that we're doing video. There you go, huh? Nice. I can't drink the refresh now because you put it on top of that.
Good.
Thanks.
Oh, it's already open too. Like you already been drinking it.
I drank it this morning.
I've still not been using kratom since I really haven't been like pushing my back very hard. I haven't had any
Oh.
urge or need to use kratom for the
Good.
last couple weeks now.
Oh, you're not
It's
going
like 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Unfortunately, I have to take kratom now.
Caffeine is
My
so
back
much
is the worst it's been in
Oh, no.
in years. So, and I think it's mainly because I'm just holding baby all the time
Oh, sure.
and not exercising as much as I should. I'm like down to like very little exercise.
That's the word. Yes. Yes.
I'm not stretching.
Speaking, I mean, in part of RFJ.
Yeah, let's hit it. Yeah, here we go.
RFK. MIJ. I'm trying to like shorten it. Yeah. FDA's war on public health is about to end. This includes its aggressive suppression of psychedelics, peptides, stem cells, raw milk, hyperbaric therapies, chelating compounds, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamins, clean foods, sunshine, exercise, nutraceuticals, and anything else that advances human health and can't be patented by pharma.
Boom.
If you work for the FDA
That's
or
my
a part
favorite.
of the corrupt system, I have 2 messages for you. Preserve your records, pack your bags.
Yeah,
so good.
baby. Such
yeah, I
a
mean, it's like-
hardcore message. I love it.
And that's the thing, it's true. I mean, everything from peptides, like peptides are just the basic building. Like we have amino acids get made into peptides and then get made into basically everything else in your body, whether it's, muscle tissue, cell tissue, all of that. And peptides are essentially some of the basic fundamental building blocks of our body. And yet somehow now those are being outlawed because they can't be
banned.
patented. And
Yeah.
and that's essentially all it is. And in other things too, like hyperbaric chamber therapy. And we've talked about this. Where I remember on Joe Rogan's podcast years ago, someone was talking about how hyperbaric chamber therapy, so like increased oxygen at a high pressure, helps just like force oxygen into the mitochondria, helps the body rebuild. And simple things like, it's a simple therapy, but for things that are like for, strokes, where it causes severe damage to the body, can be healed, or certain things like infections that are being resistant to other drugs and medications can be healed just by increasing oxygen in the body. And that's something very cost effective and easy, but it truly heals the body. And that stuff is so hard to find as a patient if you want to get it for something, even then, let alone if you want to try and get it for, say, just longevity and trying to repair the body before it becomes more of a problem. That's even harder to find with what the FDA is doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then other things, exercise, we know all this stuff is not, it's not what the FDA is pushing when they should be. If they want patient outcome, if they want people to be healthy and just live a great life, there's a lot of things that need to change on their recommendations.
What bothers me the most is the like almost like demonizing of these things, or this like disregard. Even when you go to the doctor, at least unfortunately the doctors that I've gone to, I know there are great doctors out there. I unfortunately do not have these great doctors, and I've gone through several. And I will mention, I take these supplements, or, I take Kratom to manage my pain, or, these are the exercises I need to do, or the fact that I got stem cells and that was the first time I got relief in 15 years was through stem cell treatment. And it's very dismissive. The conversation is like, oh, I mean, sure, I guess. It's like this kind of rolling the eyes of like, yeah, sure. But if you really want something, I can prescribe you real pain relief. We could do a surgery for your back, for your hip. We need to put you through all these specialists. This kind of, the usual kind of path of health, and it's wild. And I love that list. I love that quote. We'll see. It's never felt so hopeful.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. So wait, anyway, so you were going, we interrupted you. So you got this award from AKA. Awesome. Did they bring it up during the session you were at?
Not that one. No.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if they announced it at a previous one that I just happened to miss or what happened or how.
All right.
But yeah,
well,
but it's
congratulations, sir.
Official enough.
It is official. I love it. I got to figure out how to get on that list too. Do more, try harder.
Show up at a bunch of municipalities talking about like your experience on Kratom,
you earned
which is great.
That's the thing that you mentioned.
To, a few different locations.
It's not like they just give this award out to anybody. You actually earned it. You went out there. You were, at one point, I mean, for the Newport Beach one, you were the only person that went out there and told your story, advocated for Kratom, did your best, and was the mouthpiece for the AKA or with the AKA at the event.
Yeah, there are very few consumers that went up to that hearing and testified.
Yeah,
there was a few there, but it was very, very light showing compared to what we've had in the past, like with San Diego County.
Yeah, so you've definitely done your part, and it's well earned. So we're really proud of you. Okay, business updates. I don't know if we wanted to talk about this. I added a couple notes here. One is I try to think about two elements in this section of our podcast. One is, there are folks that have asked us, if you can give any advice. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to run my own business. You guys are doing it. So any advice there is helpful. So give us kind of like the, behind the curtains. What is it like to run a business? And every time I think about that, just like that's my reaction to like, do you really want to know?
It's like, I feel like that's like either like asking someone like what their politics is. You're like, oh, that's a big like box you're going to open up right now. And like, or it's something like, have you talked to like a mental health therapist lately? It's like, well, let me like talk. Oh, geez. You know what I mean? It's one of those big topics of like, you really want to open Pandora's box on this? Like,
Don't do it.
All right.
I actually chat GPT because I was listening to, I know you and I listen to a lot of Rogan. We do listen to other podcasts, by the way. We just quote Rogan quite often. He's so quotable. But they were talking about, I don't know, so they're bringing up entrepreneurs, and the person that he was talking with was an entrepreneur, and they said they're both saying how like it's a ridiculously hard job. It's, people want to be it, they want to do it, but they underestimate the challenges that come with it. And then the person was lamenting about having to refinance their home twice, couldn't put food on the table because they're really trying to. I think this might have been, I hate when I do this, but I think this was Black Rifle. He was talking with the owner of Black Rifle about this. And, yes, they're a successful company now, but, no one knows of the challenges they went something like 6 years of not bringing home income.
And that's the other surprising thing from like an outside perspective. Like even from an outside perspective, even when we think it's like, oh, it's like that's like an overnight success, and it feels that way. Even something like Uber, I remember went from like nothing to being everywhere. It's like, oh man, they like overnight success, like just amazing. But then when you look at that history, it was like, oh, well, no, they actually started 8 years before I thought they did. And they went through all this like turmoil and cycles. And then finally, like, 7 years, they kind of like figured out the current model that they made success at. Yeah. And so like, even when it feels from the outside perspective that it's overnight, you don't see just because you didn't hear about struggle the long term. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I was, after listening to that podcast, I was like slightly depressed about it all. Like, why did I choose this? Alex and I, idiots. I went to ChatGPT to say like, I think I wrote something like why you should be an entrepreneur. like making ChatGPT my therapist for a moment, and it brought up it actually worked. It did remind me that there's positives, and it said like, there's huge positives that you can't get in a regular job. Obviously you don't have consistency in paycheck, there's a lot of risk and a lot of stress and blah 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 blah, all that stuff. I'm like, great, I already know that. That's why I'm feeling this way. That's why I'm literally writing to you. Tell me the good stuff. And it was about, that you have more purpose than in any other job if you do it right, if you set it up correctly.
Yes.
Right? You can choose to do a business that you are passionate about. You have creative freedom. You have unlimited potential. You have control. You have a lot of things that
as long as, yes, I 100% agree on that side. The only thing, like for me personally, there was a struggle getting into that, I don't know, like zone of like personal freedom and creativity, because I mean, coming from a much more structured career, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, well I can rearrange my schedule and work from home on this day if I'm getting burned out, or like it feels weird because like sometimes like in the entrepreneur path when things aren't going super well, sometimes you kind of like, or sometimes I dig into like what's not working well before like figuring out the change.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of weird mind like shift that has to happen, and so once that happens it gets much better, but it's a weird kind of roller coaster or getting into like this pit of despair weird. And like,
yeah, you're right, you don't realize you have so much control.
And
I used to joke all the time. People would say like, oh, you don't have a boss, that's awesome. Like, you have one boss. I have thousands of bosses.
It feels right.
My
it's
customers are my boss. My employees are my boss. Like they're all like, I have to make all these people happy to make this a success.
Like, or the feeling of like, okay, like, oh, you do all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, well, but I have these 10 other things that I didn't do and never got to. And so like, even like when you have accomplishments, it feels like, cool, I accomplished this, but I didn't accomplish all these other things that I was thinking about. And so you can, like, to me, there's also that side of like almost never feeling accomplished in a lot of ways, where it's like, cause like there's always opportunities, like the opportunities are kind of constantly going by and you're trying to just like catch up to them or like grab. It just feels, it's.
And I think in the early years, especially in early years when that, as ChatGPT was saying, unlimited potential, it's like, but that can be really
daunting in itself.
It builds anxiety. Sometimes you just want to have like, just tell me what I need to do. Give me that one thing.
Yes, I mean there are definitely times where like, I mean, being the owner, sometimes it's like the curse of like, okay, well, I got to go clean the bathroom because everyone's like gone now and done, or it's like, or I got to go clean this machine and like just literally wipe off like dust and like redo it. And sometimes it's like the most frustrating. Then other times it's like the most like, oh, I'm just doing this one thing and that's it. And then I get to
nice, right?
I
own this company and I
just get to like clean this grease off.
The hell? You're like,
it looks clean now.
Why do I feel better?
It looks great. Like, some of the simple things can either be like horrible, but then sometimes it's like a great just relaxation of like, I'm going to go outside and like take a little air blower and like blow the outside parking lot and just like sweep that up. And now it's like the most basic.
What, every time you do this, it freaks out the staff though. I'll just let you know because you're the boss and you're like taking a blower out. They're like, why is he doing that? Was I supposed to do that? So everyone's like, oh my God, why didn't we do, like, so who's in trouble right now is the first reaction. Like it didn't get done and now he has to do it. And then the second is like, oh, is he okay? Is something going on in his life? And it just gets all over the place. And I go, probably. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. He needs this. Let him do it. I do it too. So, it's just a little, it's cathartic. It's meditation in some ways. Just let it be. You're not in trouble. Sometimes you are, but most of the times you're not. Anyway, I wanted to say,
but back to purpose, like you were saying, is a very important part.
Oh,
that is kind of like, I mean, that's just like
keeps you going.
Because I would say, like, I mean, everything in life is a struggle, or like, I mean, right. And so it's like, it's kind of like choose the right struggle in a lot of ways. Like if you're gonna like, because I mean, I found some of the same issues when I was working for HP back in the day. It was like some things were like great, but then other things were it's like monotonous and same kind of feelings coming up. So it's kind of like it didn't, and that was. Yeah, so it's kind of like your life, you'll figure it out regardless of whether you're working for a company or entrepreneur.
Yeah. It's how you
I am
approach it.
me. Yeah.
So here's a tip for all those entrepreneurs out there. It's very important, very, very, very important to take time to plan. And I know it sounds silly, like, of course you got to put together, your annual plan, your strategic vision, all these things. Duh, everyone has it. But I'll tell you right now, it is so easy to not do it. It's so easy just to you get into the office and there's a million things on your desk that you have to do. There's not enough time in the world to get it all done. And so you just nose down. You have meetings and you get things done. You're just trying to accomplish tasks. And you forget about the importance of setting strategy, to having goals, all the kind of the big picture stuff. Like, I don't have time for that. I have firefights. I got to take out these fires. I can't. But we do it, and it gives us, it's the foundation, obviously, of the company. And when you don't do it, oof, you spiral out.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes the maybe surprising part, because it feels like because almost like back to that comment where when that's happening, all those firefights and everything going on, it feels like, I just got to devote more and more time to that. But almost like counterintuitively, you have to step away from it, kind of sometimes let those fires just burn a little bit.
Yeah. Do
the actual strategy, the long-term changes, and say, okay, now what are we going to say no to? But yeah, sometimes it's like that weird, because it's not always intuitive of, okay, in this moment I need to do this. You have to kind of sometimes step back, go a little bit slower to go faster in the long run. So there's that weird.
And that's what people need from us as leaders. When the leaders don't have a vision for the company, then everything becomes chaos. And so what we do, we make it a point around this time of year, which Nicole is helping us right now, is setting time aside for Alex, myself, and an extension of our leadership team too. Sometimes we've done it alone, sometimes we do it with others, but we go off-site for at least a day, a full day, sometimes multiple days, and just plan. Part of it is looking at current year, what we've done, the accomplishments, the challenges, all the things that have gone on. We do a look back, but really the focus is on planning for, in this case, 2025. And a big piece of it, as Alex mentioned, is saying no. There's just so many opportunities, and you have such limited resources and limited, time, money, all of it, that you can't just tackle it all. And it all sounds amazing, especially in the moment when someone pitches you an idea, or you come up with the idea yourself. You're like, I was in the shower and I was like, oh God, this is what we need to do. And it's like, add it to the list. Let's add it to the list. And I just know, I'm like, and I try to embody you for a moment, and I go like, Alex is just going to be like, what the hell? No. This stuff, this is ridiculous. So this is why we have to have our leadership session and just sit down and talk through it all and really figure out exactly what we're going to tackle for 2025 and beyond. And I love doing it. No, I don't like doing it. I hate doing it in the moment.
Like the outcome though is right.
The outcome is great, yeah. But it's like, I hate just going away and feeling like nothing's getting done so that we can talk for a day. But it needs to be done. And yes, you're right. The outcome is important. And then I like the fact that we take some time aside to process it all. And then we come back together again. So it's not just like a one-day thing, because in the moment you may agree, maybe you haven't thought about it enough, maybe you change your mind. You need some time to process all of it. And we do that, and then we come back together again and go, okay, what did we come up with that day? I'm like, wow, that's, what were we thinking? Or like, oh, that's still spot on. Well, yeah, let's do that. And then we finally put it down, and then becomes the plan. And like all plans, they get adjusted over time.
Very much so.
But it's important. So take the time, if you're an entrepreneur, take the time to really plan out what you're going to do. Okay. Health tips. I'm proud that I've set up a cold plunge system at my, and I say system very loosely. So I took the hot tub that I have outside that broke, and instead of replacing the motor and all that and fixing it all up again, I was like, no one ever uses it when this thing works anyway. We all say we want to use it, but it doesn't. It just sits there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just turning this into a cold plunge. So I looked up what is the temperature range, and I put it here. So what is the temperature range for a cold plunge? And it's like about, what is it?
50 to 59 degrees.
Yeah, 50 to 59 degrees.
Okay. That's
which seemed warmer than I thought it would be.
It's not an ice bath. Yeah, I guess it's like, okay, so cold plunge isn't quite as like
intense.
terrifying.
Like Rogan would say.
I know.
Yeah, so that's the range, right? So 50 to 59 degrees. And then I looked up what is the temperature during at least winter months for Escondido, which is where I live. And it's around the same as well too.
Perfect, yeah.
And so I said, let's just do it. So I fill it up with water, have it covered, and I take it out, and it's
Cold.
plenty cold. Plenty
Yep.
cold.
Yeah.
And they say like for beginners, you should do 1 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you kind of gradually go to 10 to 15.
Wow.
I've gone to like 3, like a little north of 3. And it's enough for me. Like I just, and I don't have one where the water is circulating and all that kind of stuff. What I do is I
Sure.
just try to move around a little bit and try to
damn.
like, because
Okay.
it's way worse when you start moving
Oh
around.
yeah,
a little bit.
I know. Yeah, because you don't get like that thermal layer that just like keeps you insulated. When you're like moving around, you're like, oh.
So
How long have you been doing this for now?
I'm doing month maybe. Like
Wow, every day?
no, God no. I wish it's whenever I have time. I'm trying to get into this. I'm trying to get through this process. I was supposed to do it this morning. I woke up early for it, and then Lisa came in with baby, and then we're like, all the kids are out of school today, so we're like, who's taking care of the kids? We're like, it just became a whole thing, and I was like, I guess I'm not doing cold plunge today. She's like, yeah, no, you don't. Here, you're doing this. Here, take baby. I was like, okay. So, but I'm trying, and so anyway, that's what I'm doing. What are you doing for your health? That's maybe you haven't talked about.
I don't know. Yeah, nothing new right now. I mean, just mainly, going to the gym, working out, so doing kettlebells.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of haven't done too much of an aggressive workout lately, but kind of still going to the gym every so often.
Why are you pulling back?
I don't know. Yeah, just like a little bit of a rest, basically. I think I'll get back into it. And then like sauna is still there. Mountain biking, I went back biking maybe last weekend. I mean, just mainly since like I've recently purchased a new car, so a lot of that time has gone into like all of that process of test driving cars, figuring it out, getting loan documents set up, getting everything like going. So it's been kind of like that has been the reason of like not working out and doing other stuff as much. So now I'll get back into like the routine would be awesome.
Good excuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's good though. I got to see it finally today, which is awesome. I don't know if you want to tell people about it, but you've joined the Tesla family with the rest of our staff.
Yeah, yes, I've gone from a manual transmission to a fully electric car that drives itself. So I don't know, it's a weird, I guess I'll go all the way in. Like either I'm going to drive fully with manual transmission and full in, or it's going to be the car drives me around. So,
well, you have. So Alex has a manual transmission car. So you still have it. So
we still have access to a little tiny.
Z3?
Yeah, it's
BMW
kind of like,
Z3.
so if you want a like, full driving experience. And I was just watching like a review on, I don't know, Throttle House about this, and they were actually reviewing something like a BMW M3 versus like the new Tesla Model 3. Maybe it was M2.
I watched it too. Yeah. See, so we do like
the
podcast.
M2 comp, was it? So it's
it was a M3 competition versus Model 3 Performance.
The new one.
The new one.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was kind of both are awesome.
Yes.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as far as like a track car, it's like, okay, yeah, they're both like very capable track cars. But then the conclusion was that, well, but for the price of the BMW, you can get the Tesla and buy a Miata and buy like a third car.
The BRZ or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like, which is kind of it's kind of the true part. That's where the Teslas are hard to beat for the performance everyday driving.
I know. I keep on saying it's undeniable.
And the price is like, so I bought this one used, like, because I normally go for a couple-year-old used car at least. And I was like, and with me, I don't like spending money. It's hard for me to like commit to like large purchases.
I've been wanting you to buy a new car forever.
But it was like, there's a lot of sadness too getting rid of that old car. So many memories. Like that's just like a weird thing, but it's fine. It's like, it's great. And like, I'll get into this routine. It's getting better as far as, and that's a weird thing too. It's like, even when I want something, I buy it. It's like, cool, I have it. But then it still takes me a while using it constantly to make it mine and really grow attached to it. It takes a little bit longer. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
interesting.
I don't know.
Well, this one is like totally undeniable. You got the performance one. You got the self-driving. You
Yep.
get the full everything.
Yeah.
Giant 40-inch
But there's so,
wheels.
I mean,
What are
and
they,
then there's like so
21
many accessories though now too. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's going to get changed over time.
Yeah, you got
I'm
a
sure.
carbon fiber spoiler too.
Yeah, part of that side. Yep. There's a little
Nice.
spoiler. It's like a little inch. Like, oh, that I'm
Hey,
sure it
counts.
makes a difference.
Counts.
Sure it makes a difference.
Spoils the air. It's important. You know me and carbon fiber. Gotta have the carbon fiber. Yeah, so that's awesome. Awesome to have that.
So yes, but now I mean, in the storage is nice. So I have plenty of to like get all my gym equipment back in the car. So like that's the nice part too. It's kind of like when I'm kind of like in between cars, and it's like it's just a little bit more planning to make things work. So that was kind of hard the last couple of weeks of why just falling out of routine a little bit.
But for a good reason.
Yeah.
For the
so,
upgrade.
Yeah.
Nice.
So now getting back in the gym, mountain biking, and that's the other thing too. So I'll get the tow hitch put on, so I can actually have like a nice bike rack for the back of my car.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Because my old car, I just would just take the bike apart, put it in the back seat,
Yes,
and
I
do
know.
all this like random stuff to get to work. So now it's kind of So yeah, it'll be easier for me to make all this work.
I know. I really wanted you to get a red version because, we have.
The red version is nice, but it's like it's an extra. So
Well, I wanted because Nicole has a white one. She just got it this year as well too, and then Carlos has a blue one. So we had red, white, and blue. We're made in America, baby. Come on, let's do this.
the red does look nice. It's one of their premium options, actually.
Is it
So,
really?
yeah.
Son
So
of
it's like the gray. The one that I have is like the base gray, which is like the default color.
Pay extra.
If you want to pay extra for like
never
the
understood
white
that.
or the blue, it's like $1,000 more. If you want the black, $1,500 more.
What?
If you
Black
want-
is the most basic of. Okay. Whatever.
Well, but it's all. I mean, but it's also black
the supply demand.
Yes, black is basic, but it's also it's actually one of the harder colors to match because people don't realize that black is actually black plus a bunch of other colors. So like you can have more like colder blacks, like blue base tones. You can have more warmer. And like,
Yeah.
and this was back in like HP when I was doing a lot of large format printing. People would put like black down on the paper, but then operators like printers, they would do their own custom settings where they would actually create their own black, where they would do black ink plus they do like 300% like magenta, and it would just like change kind of like the tone. Like for some reason you kind of like, he's like, oh yeah, that's black, but then you're like, but for some reason that black just looks better than like that black. Like,
Yeah.
why is that? And it's like, it's that weird kind of part to how to make black look really nice is those like little tricks in the background of like, oh yeah, there's actually a bunch of extra like color underneath the black that interacts
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
So that's why they could charge premium, because like, it does look great. But the red and their new like Quicksilver, those are like $2,000 extra. So those are like the two most expensive options.
It's worth it, dude. Worth it.
No, I would like. Well, I started seeing the
The
new,
image that
like-
we could have had. No.
But I saw like the Quicksilver version like in person a few times,
Yeah.
and that one's like my favorite now, which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's-
So yeah, I mean, I was expecting to really like black. I was like, I want all black out. But then like when I saw the lighter gray, I was like, oh, I really like that now. Like, all right. So
I think it looks good.
yeah, I don't know. I'll
think that's
probably
great.
wrap it at some point just to protect it and kind of get like a nice matte wrap or something different. There's so many. That's the thing. Like, there's so many options
Yeah.
now to customize
After you enjoy
cars
it for
in
a bit.
general, especially now. Like Tesla,
Yeah.
there's so many like aftermarket accessories. Go to Amazon. Like you can get all sorts of little things. So like, there's definitely going to be lots of little stuff coming.
Good. I can't wait. I can't stand cars that just like when people just keep it stock. You know me. It's like you got to make it your own.
Well, it's a lot harder now, like finding my car, because it's like, oh look, there's
Exactly.
500 Teslas around here that all look the same.
Yeah.
At least mine has like a couple like blue clean air stickers that makes it super easy, like the
Okay,
previous
yeah.
owner.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
like, yeah, otherwise it's like they're everywhere. So it's like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
where's it
I
going?
see Nicole's car all the time. I'm like, oh, Nicole's here. I'm like, nah, she's not here. She's not going to be
But it's
shopping
able-
at Winco with me.
apparently Tesla did just release actually Smart Summon.
What?
So like
Oh,
Smart
that's,
Summon.
you were talking about that. Yeah.
So I guess that I don't have to go find my car. I can just press the button and let it come to me now. So
Yeah, I wanted her to do it. I'm like, come on, let's do it. She's like, I don't know.
I'm only
No,
gonna
it's-
set up.
But it's weird. Like, I mean, it will recognize any spot that it can fit in. It starts just like labeling as like parking spots. And so like, if it recognizes that, you can just press a button and then it'll just like go there and park itself.
Nice.
It's just like, it's crazy how automated it can be. Like, and that's what I mean is like,
Jeez.
it's such a change in just experience overall, where it's like, right? Because I mean, even just the
Yeah.
example of like, oh, how do I find my car? It's like, oh, well, I could just press a button, have my car come to me. So like, that's where like the experience is so foreign
Yeah.
and so different, that like why it's kind of interesting to go through and learn everything. And
Yeah.
or just like, there's no keys. You just walk up to it and it opens and you drive, and then you just get out, close, and just walk away, and it locks itself. It's like, it's that kind of stuff of like, yeah, the experience is vastly, vastly different.
Yeah. But then you still have the analog experience if you want, like full.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can still drive, and you
like,
can still,
you know, you can
0 to 60 and faster than
Yeah.
my brain can comprehend. So you're like, oh, what was that? Oh, that's right.
I can't wait to drive it. I'll let you break it in first, then before I really break it. Okay. The topic for today was, I can't even remember anymore.
Side effects of Kratom.
Side effects of Kratom. That's always a weird word for me. Side effects. So what they really mean is like negative.
Negative,
effects,
yeah,
right?
and that's what. Yeah, I think it was one of your buddies that mentioned that, where it's like, well, they're just effects.
Yeah,
Whether they're good or bad is kind of like how you choose to view them, or depending on like, because I
right?
mean,
if I'm trying to sleep and I get energy boost as my effect, I would probably think of that as a
side effect. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, I didn't want that.
And that is a good point, right? Because like that's the some people Kratom can help with sleep, but it's definitely dependent on the alkaloid profiles, and it's not based on necessarily red, green, or white as far as the vein color, because we've kind of gone through that multiple times. As far as harvesters will just label their Kratom whatever they need to label it to sell it, and so sometimes people will get a very high MITRAGYNINE red Kratom that can keep them energized and not help them sleep.
Yeah, we have those in the back.
Yep.
Don't make that mistake of grabbing the wrong Kratom.
But so it's really just different effects. And I mean, I think constipation is a good one, where a lot of times constipation is a side effect, a negative effect that you don't want. And so you can drink more water. Like I drink more water with Kratom, that really helps.
Okay.
But I know some people use Kratom for irritable bowel syndrome, or if they have a loose stool, then that becomes a benefit. And so it's like Imodium AD is a typical anti-diarrhea over-the-counter medication. And that is actually an opioid agonist because of that. It's kind of a common known effect of compounds that interact with opioid receptors do cause constipation at higher levels. And so, yeah, in one case, it's a negative effect that you don't want. But then in another effect, it's like, if you want it, then it's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was looking at this topic, I just started listing out effects that I get in general. So it's all the usual stuff. Pain relief is number one. But for me now, it's become, lately it's been about pain, just because my back is just so tight. I can't loosen my back up anymore. Again, like I said, no, I'm not stretching, I'm not exercising. So, and I'm not sleeping. I don't have regular sleep. So I bet you if I start wearing my Oura ring, sorry, chap, I'm going to wear it if you're listening. So he's giving me like 2 and I don't wear them, but I love the product. I just forget. And it's another thing to charge and all that, but anyway, I bet you I'm not getting like that restorative deep sleep, because I'm being woken up every couple hours. And so like my total number of sleep is fine. So I think I'm mostly mentally here, but I think my body, I'm just noticing things just take longer to heal. I'm just more achy, and it's all just kind of been bad. So Kratom's been helping me get through it. Although I'm not taking probably the right Kratom for this issue. I'm just using the same old stuff I always use.
What are you using?
Either Slim Fit or Sunrise.
Oh yeah, I would definitely recommend Sunset. So when my back gets really tight, I definitely switch over to Sunset to help relax out the muscles. And
it's just not at home. I gotta not be lazy.
Yeah.
I actually go in the back, grab it, bring it home, and use it. I just have that, Slim Fit and Sunrise at home.
Yeah. I mean, along with the topic lines of side effects or kind of negative effects of Kratom, it does seem to correlate to higher usage amounts. So if I overconsume Kratom, just take too much, then I get nauseous and kind of feel like woozy for half an hour to an hour. And that's kind of probably the most common, I would say, negative or side effect. That's just at a high dosage nausea. And so I recommend don't use that much next time. It's kind of a good, easy way to mitigate that side.
Yeah. I find that when I use extract-based products, and I think mainly it's because it's just easier to use too much.
Yeah.
So I'll, whatever the product may be, I'm just not cognizant of the amount MITRAGYNINE that's in it.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, I mean, it's hard when there's those little extract bottles have 3 servings
Yeah.
minimum. So you're talking like 125 milligrams of MITRAGYNINE. And it's like, well, I would probably recommend people start more at 20 milligrams, see
Right.
how you feel. And so, yeah, that's a good 5 doses at least for people.
yeah.
And so until you kind of know your own tolerance and how it works, how your body interacts with it. So yeah, I think that's the biggest concern. I mean, fortunately it's just nausea and maybe upset stomach and kind of lightheadedness for a little while. There's not like loss of motor control. There's not a loss of reaction time. There's nothing that seems to be detrimental. But,
yeah. No long-term effects.
Yes.
At least not that we know of. Yeah. That's, I find it to be even more of a problem now that we have like tasty stuff, things that actually taste really good, like our mints. So new folks will come in and they'll take a mint and be like, wow, this is a great experience. And they just think they can just keep on popping mints, every hour. And, and they're novice in Kratom, so they don't know about dosage, and you try to educate them, but it's just too easy to be like, doop, boop.
What was that? Yep.
But then once they have the bad experience, they'll never do it again.
Sure. And I think that is, I mean, back to like kind of circling back to the FDA, and that is where the FDA does have, say, legitimate concerns in general when we talk about should things like Kratom or like cannabis, other kind of psychoactive substances, yeah, we should be careful about adding that to like a gummy, because if a gummy bear or something looks like candy, tastes like candy, and it makes it just easy to overconsume. I mean, sugar is probably the worst substance that allows my body to keep eating something when I shouldn't.
Oh, I know.
I mean, sugar is by far a drug in itself that is problematic in a lot of ways. And
even like high fructose corn syrup.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? It interrupts your brain's ability to recognize that it's full.
Oh my God.
Like, so you could, it is designed so that you can overconsume.
Yeah.
And it's in everything.
Yes.
So,
And so yeah. So I mean, the FDA does have a legitimate concern, or at least the people that recommend, hey, let's be careful about taking any kind of substance and adding just a bunch of sugar, colorants, flavors to it, because let's, be aware that there's other biological effects from those compounds that do set in.
Yeah. So, if you're using Kratom, even if especially if you're not using Kratom that we make, make sure you're looking at those COAs, those certificates of analysis, the lab test results, because it matters. It really does matter. Like to Alex's point, it's not going to be long-term detrimental and horrible, but you're not going to want that experience. We've gone through it. We've purposely taken too much just to see what's the worst case scenario. And we did like 30 grams, it was some ridiculous amount of whole leaf Kratom. I've done it. You have too, where we've used too much extract based products as well too. And you get the like lightheaded, nausea, all that stuff, the constipation, the cramps, all of it's bad. Avoid it by just making sure start slow, of course, but do a titration process where you're using a little bit and then monitoring how you feel, waiting a set amount of time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, adding a little bit more, and you'll figure out your dose. And then using that number now, you can then purchase all the other products that are out there, all the different variations of it. So if it's whole leaf tablets, in case of ether, you now can say, okay, I found out that 25 milligrams of MITRAGYNINE is my dose. Based on whole leaf tablets, that equates to whatever number of tablets that is, depending on the variety of product you're buying. You take that number, and now you can go and use, say one of our mints or, one of our drinks or someone else's Kratom. But you use that knowledge as your base.
Yes, absolutely.
So, anything else we want to add in?
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess on some of the side effects I get. So we've talked about generally increasing water intake is good when using Kratom, because some of that dehydration. I do notice. I mean, it's not a noticeable effect, but just drinking water in general seems to be better for me.
Okay.
The other side is if I am using a lot of Kratom and exercising a lot, like if I'm doing a big bike ride or hiking, and I need, continual Kratom to kind of keep that pain down or the inflammation down. And I'm also, say, sweating a lot, and then drinking water, sweating. There does seem to be, I'm more cognizant of the electrolyte balance. And so sometimes I've noticed that it's like easier for my muscles to cramp up. And that could be from the dopamine interaction. So MITRAGYNINE, some of the alkaloids do interact with the dopamine receptors, and that, according to, I think, Dr. Edward Boyer, when I asked him about, hey, I experience some of this muscle cramping sometimes when I use a lot of kratom and exercise. He said that could be the dopaminogenic response. So it could be that dopamine receptor that's being activated a little bit could cause some of that muscle tightness. And so, yeah, for me, I just use magnesium supplements, both kind of like topical spray and then some of the oral supplements. I find the topical spray is better for the magnesium intake. So I think, yeah, just the electrolyte balance for me is a big one, kind of, which is also, I think most people are aware of that need as well, right? We talk about if I have high blood pressure, reduce sodium intake. And so there's just kind of that constant understanding of water intake and electrolyte balance is a pretty big health tip. That's good in general. Plus then if I'm doing a lot of kratom, which means I'm also probably doing a lot of exercise, probably need to be more aware of it.
Yeah. A common question that comes up is, can you take kratom on an empty stomach? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on the person. So, some people are more sensitive when I've found. Some of my friends and family, they do not like taking kratom on an empty stomach. I'm 100% fine with it. I take kratom on an empty stomach all the time and don't notice any issue whatsoever. So I think it's kind of just more of a personal preference depending on who they are. Like, what about you? Do you take it empty stomach or you?
Yeah, empty stomach is in the morning. I never eat breakfast unless it's a weekend, hanging out with the family.
And I have not seen any liver issues. So a lot of times certain medications, they'll say, well, make sure to take Advil, Tylenol, not on an empty stomach, because that can be very hard on the liver. It gets passed through and there's some blood signals. From at least the case reports, they're very, very rare when it comes to kratom and liver issues. And all the case reports I've seen, the person has had a history of liver toxicity for either alcohol or other pharmaceuticals have caused kind of this liver toxicity. And then kratom just happens to be part of their current routine, so it didn't cause the problem. Yeah. Any of the other clinical research I've seen of just, say, giving people kratom and then testing their blood for certain markers on the liver kind of tox panel and how hard it is, we don't see any, elevated concerns that kratom is hard on the liver. So I don't think there's any, say, issues that seem to point towards, make sure to have this with food because it's hard on your liver. So it seems to be just more of that personal preference. Some people get nauseous from it, some don't.
Yeah, I think just the effects kick in much faster. And so I think people, I take kratom in the morning and I take kratom in the afternoon when I leave work, and it's a different experience. And so I think, if I'm used to taking it with food all the time, like I am in the afternoon, and I took it on an empty stomach, it would be
notice it much.
It'd be so noticeable. So they, and maybe that's what people are gonna.
Sure, yeah, that could be.
But anyway, but it seems like it's not an issue for most folks. But if you're sensitive with other supplements, other medication, then you can probably be sensitive to kratom as well. So take the same precautions.
Yeah, and probably just the last one that I can think about is just, kratom can be technically habit forming. So yes, it is. If we look at addiction, which would be kind of like coffee is addictive, nutmeg, St. John's wort, chamomile tea, those are all also technically addictive, just like kratom is. So that's why I say it's more habit forming, because kratom does not lead to abuse. So certain products can be addictive, like caffeine, but caffeine doesn't lead to abuse, right? People don't try to harm themselves, harm others, or harm relationships to get more caffeine. Same with kratom. People don't harm themselves, others, or relationships to get more kratom. In fact, they actually use kratom to get back to their relationships, go get a job, become productive member of the community. They really start engaging with life again. Yeah. So kratom is a very helpful side in that, but yes, it technically can have withdrawal symptoms if you use it for prolonged periods at very high doses and come off of it. There will be some, I noticed some kind of tiredness for 1 or 2 days, but nothing severe. I would say caffeine. You just went through this whole
cleansing, so you know firsthand.
And I've done it a few. Yes, I've done it a few times over the years, and I don't really. There's nothing that I struggle with when it comes to kratom. I can forget about it pretty easily. If I do use very high amounts of extract, like the liquid extracts or the mints, if I'm using 200-300 milligrams a day sometimes when I'm traveling, that I then will switch to like our whole leaf tablets for like 2 to 3 days and kind of taper off. So I think if there is any issue, I would say I only notice it when I'm like stopping completely from like 300 milligrams a day down to zero.
High dose. Yeah.
So then, yes, I think tapering off over a couple
That's
days
good advice.
just makes it unnoticeable.
So if you're a high dose regular Kratom user, and you need to, or you want to stop
Or take a break. Yep.
take a break a bit for whatever reason, try using whole leaf products, like our whole leaf tablets. And that'll help you with that tapering off process.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of goes back because like humans were incredibly adaptable. So even if something's not, say, a problem, it's almost always good to kind of take a break from all of our patterns in life, if possible, somehow or like reevaluate them to kind of see really what's happening. I mean, because like, you know, I mean, going back to the entrepreneur side, sometimes it feels like, oh, this pattern of coming in the office, doing this work, I got to like put out these fires, do everything. But yet sometimes it's good to take a break from that pattern and see, okay, well, can I change that in a different way? So there's always that kind of habit forming for Kratom. Yes, it's not a long-term problem. Do people need to take breaks? I don't think so. But at the same time, humans,
Try it.
It's always good to, evaluate what we're doing in our pattern daily life.
Yeah. Wise words.
There's never
There's
an answer that's always definitive. It's always this or this. We'll try it.
Here's just some advice. What do we know?
Not much.
That's great. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you got some insight, something out of this whole podcast episode. If you've learned anything and if you've enjoyed yourself, it'd be great if you guys could support the show by shopping at ethaNaturals.com for all your botanical needs. Obviously, don't forget to follow our podcast page. Stay updated on new episodes at Etha Live Fully Podcasts, or you just do at Etha Naturals and follow us on social media. Always, your support means a lot to us, means everything. Today's topic was brought to us by you guys, and we appreciate your support. If you have anything you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please submit your questions in the Q&A section down below, or email us at podcast@ethanaturals.com. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment, and our team we're trying to do a good job of responding to all questions that are posted on all formats. So please leave a comment and leave a question there. We'll respond. Okay, until next time, I'm Victor.
I'm Alexander.
And as always, live fully.